Rabbi, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
You did a great job teaching us the Hakdamat Perek Chalek and the 13 Ikarim, and now really sitting with us and going through a quick video series of contemporary questions related to each Ikar. So I guess to open up, what are the 13 Ikarim that HaRambam presented to us, and what are they supposed to do?
So HaRambam believed that while every Jew has a Halek Le'olam Haba, and every Jew is part of Yisrael, has this Halek Le'olam Haba, even people who violate the law sometimes, even people who make Averot, they will get punished for the Averot, but they are still part of the Jewish people. However, there are 13 basic principles which are core beliefs of the Jewish people that a person who does not attribute himself to those beliefs forfeits his membership in the Jewish people. He is no longer a member of Israel, and therefore he also forfeits his share in Olam Haba and every functionary element of being a part of the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm. So how could HaRambam, though, list 13 and exclude other mitzvot and other values from our Torah?
So that's the famous question that was asked by later commentaries on HaRambam. Very specifically, Rabbi Yosef Albo in his Sefer Ikarim, Hastai Kreskas in Or Hashem, they asked the question of, what do you mean? Isn't everything in Ikar? Isn't all of the, every pasuk, the belief in every mitzvah, and every pasuk, isn't that in Ikar? HaRambam himself says that if you, is one of the Ikarim that we'll learn, if you believe every pasuk is from Hashem except one pasuk, Moshe said on his own, you're out. So what does it mean that you pick these 13? The whole Torah is Ikar. I think the answer to that question, as answered by later commentaries, Abarbanel has his answer. I think in a very simple, quick fashion, one could understand and say that these 13 principles are not a person forfeits his Olam Haba because he made avon or a specific sin, or he chose not to believe. These beliefs are the very core of what you need to be part of the Jewish people. And therefore, it's pretty clear from HaRambam, even if one is what we called a shogeg, he didn't purposely eradicate a belief, but he was taught inappropriately, or he therefore didn't believe one of these 13 Ikarim in a sense because of the way he was taught, without intention to rebel. He still does not have the core element of being a member of the Jewish people, and therefore he lost that. However, let's imagine that a person performs 612 mitzvot, and he doesn't believe in one of the mitzvot because he wasn't taught it, or because what we call tinok shnishpa. Such a person does not forfeit his time to Olam Haba. So these things transcend mezid, shogeg. They're not part of a sin that's a punishment. They're really part of just lacking an ingredient that you need to be a member of Israel.
Okay. So these 13, how did HaRambam come to choose them? Were they arbitrary? Like, where did he pick them from?
These were the basic principles that he believed from the Torah itself. He attributes each one has psukim, the belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These were the very foundational principles that, of course, he emanated from his tradition and from his belief in the Torah. They're all coming from psukim in the Torah.
Okay. Could you categorize them for us?
Yeah. So, and HaRambam in Chot Shuvah categorizes them. The first basic 5 we'll see relate to our understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. We can't understand anything about God himself. But those are the first 5. The next few, right, really relate to Nevuah, right, and Torah. Our understanding of Nevuah and Torah. That's really from 6 to 9. The next 2 relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's involvement in this world, in terms of his knowledge of the world and his Hashgahat Hashem, his providence, and his reward and punishment. And the last 2 are basic eschatological principles of Yemot HaMashiach and Tchiat HaMetim.
Is there significance to that order?
As we explain them, you'll see that the order is somewhat important, because you'll see that every ikad emanates from, generally, not from part of the previous ikad. It's an outgrowth and a development within each group of the previous ikad.
Okay. Is HaRambam the first to put together this quote-unquote belief system that we need to follow as Jews?
In a formulated fashion, yes. In other words, but many people before Rambam discuss these issues. We have the Mishnah that says, "En Tchiyat HaMetim min Torah, en Nochad Olam Haba." Right? You have many areas in the Mishnah, certainly belief in Mitziut HaBoreh, right? And you even have the philosophers who discuss things before him. But as in many areas, HaRambam is a great codifier. And so, as he may be the first to codify halakha in the way he did, also he's the first to codify these principles.
Okay, and I guess lastly for this introduction, HaRambam wrote this at a very young age. Right? He even writes himself, he finished writing, his Pirush to the Mishnah at the age of 30. Right? So he had to have written that, this before then. He went on to write a lot more works, more philosophical works throughout his life. Could it be that he retracted from some of these principles?
So it's impossible to say that, because, as I mentioned, in Ilchot Shuvah, we find him reiterating the principles, the 13 principles, almost verbatim. He talks about what is a mean, gives you the first 5 ikarim if you violate them. Then he talks about epikoros, and he continues to the other ikarim. And practically the entire 13 ikarim are reiterated in Hilchot Shuvah. He mentions some of them in Hilchot Yesodei Torah. It seems that he went over the Hakdama Perek Halek, because at the end of the 4th ikad, he quotes the Moreh Nevuchim, which is his last book. So it's impossible to say he would retract the ikarim because of his later philosophical. It's very clear that the ikarim were something that he went back to and he held up throughout all of his works, and even towards the end of his life.